गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. All glories to assembled devotees. All
Krishna.
glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Hare Hare
All
Bol.
glories to Srila Prabhupada. नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत्. नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam to Srimad Bhagavatam class in ISKCON Philadelphia. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 20. These are the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan as described by Uddhava to Vidura. So text 20, please, I'll recite first and then you can recite. स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणानवद्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना. स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणानवद्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना. स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणानवद्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना. Please chant.
निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रानवध्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना.
Hare Krishna. Snigdha smita valokena vacha piyusha kopaya charitrena nanavadeyan Sri Niketana Chatmana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Snigdha smita balokena vacha piyushakalpaya charitrena navadhyena sriniketana chatmana.
Hare Krishna. Snigdha smita bhalokena vacha piyusha kalpaya charitrena nanavadyena sriniketana chatmanaha. Hare
Krishna. स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणानवद्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना.
Anyone else? Okay. So let's do the word to word translation. Snigdha, gentle. Smita avalokena, by a glance with a sweet smile. Smita is smile, sweet smile. Avalokena, glance. By a glance with a sweet smile. Vacha by words. Piyusha kalpaya compared to nectar. Piyusha is something that you drink, right? So compared to nectar. Piyusha kalpaya compared to nectar. Charitrena by character. Anavadyena without flaw. Sri fortune. Niketena residence. Cha and Atmana by his transcendental body. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words and his flawless character. I'll read it again. He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words, and his flawless character. Purport. In the previous verse, it is described that Lord Krishna, being situated in the truths of Sankhya philosophy, is detached from all kinds of matter. In the previous verse, it is described that he is the residence of the goddess. In the present verse, it is described that he is the residence of the goddess of fortune. These two things are not at all contradictory. Lord Krishna is detached from the variegatedness of the inferior nature, but he is in eternal blissful enjoyment of the spiritual nature or his internal potency. One who has a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand this distinction between the external and internal potencies. In Bhagavad Gita, the internal potency is described as the para prakriti. In the Vishnu Purana also, the internal potency of Vishnu is described as Parashakti. The Lord is never detached from the association of Parashakti. This Parashakti and his manifestations are described in the Brahma Samhita 537 as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis. The Lord is eternally joyful and cognizant in the taste derived from such transcendental bliss. Negation of the variegatedness of the inferior energy does not necessitate negation of the positive transcendental bliss of the spiritual world. Therefore, the Lord's gentleness, his smile, his character, and everything related to him are all transcendental. Such manifestations of the internal potency are the reality of which the material shadow is only a temporary representation, from which everyone with proper knowledge must be detached. I'll read the last line again. Such manifestations of the internal potency are the reality of which the material shadow is only a temporary representation, from which everyone with proper knowledge must be detached. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. No, sorry, I finished that already. No, I didn't. Okay. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshur-unmilitam yena Tasmai Sri-gurave namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we are reading from the third chapter of the third canto entitled The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. So we've seen the various pastimes that the Lord performed after he left Vrindavan, the pastimes in Mathura, and finally how after the battle of Kurukshetra the Lord installed Yudhishthir Maharaj as the emperor, and he made Yudhishthir Maharaj perform 3 Ashwamedha Yagyas, horse sacrifices. And then in yesterday's verse we saw that simultaneously, that means while Maharaj Yudhishthir was ruling as the emperor, simultaneously Lord Krishna enjoyed life in the city of Dwaraka strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy. So this, just quickly I wanted to just tell you about this Sankhya system. We will see in the same canto, in the third canto, in the 26th chapter, after the appearance of Lord Kapila Bhagwan. His mother Devahuti, after her husband Kardama leaves home, she inquires from the Supreme Lord, who is her son, how to become free from fear. So there Kapil Bhagwan first explains Shuddha Bhakti, and then she asks him to explain this Sankhya philosophy and the Ashtanga philosophy also, Ashtanga Yoga and the Sankhya Yoga. So in the 26th chapter we see the explanation of Sankhya Yoga. We won't go into the details now because that's not the topic here. I just wanted to touch upon that. Why the Lord, after speaking about Shuddha Bhakti, what is the need to speak about Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya philosophy? All that we will discuss when we come to that chapter. But there we will see the Ashtanga Yoga, the Sankhya philosophy which is given by Kapil Dev. There is another atheist, Kapila, who has given a different Sankhya philosophy. It is Nirishwarvada. So there is no Ishvara in that Sankhya philosophy. There is only Prakriti and Purusha means the living entity, the enjoyer. There is no question of Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord or Paramatma. They just talk about Prakriti and the living entity. That is Nirishwara Sankhya. That is not the Sankhya philosophy that Kapil Dev, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, has given. The original Sankhya philosophy given by Kapil Dev consists of knowledge detachment and devotional service. There is devotional service also included there. Without devotional service, you don't get the result. So in yesterday's verse, we saw that Lord Krishna was situated in detachment and knowledge. What is this detachment and what is that knowledge? And what is the purpose of knowledge? So Sankhya philosophy, so it says, as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy. Sukadeva Goswami is only saying that Lord Krishna lived in his ashram. Ashram means he's in the Grihastha ashram. Of course, the Supreme Lord does not have to follow any ashrama rules. He's above all this. Nevertheless, yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tat evetaro janaha. Right? Sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever actions a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So that's why the Lord also follows to set an example for everyone. Okay. So while living in Dwaraka, he was living according to the Sankhya system of philosophy with detachment and knowledge. What is the knowledge that we learn in Sankhya philosophy? Sankhya philosophy is actually a jnana. There is two parts. There is bhakti and there is jnana. And of course, there's a third path, Ashtanga Yoga. But primarily, Srila Jiva Goswami explains, there is jnana and bhakti. Because Ashtanga Yoga can fall in on this side and that side. It can be used either by devotees or it can be used by jnanis, and it can be taken as a path on its own also. Anyway, so depending on the object of your worship, if you are aspiring for Brahman, then you will be on the jnana side. If you are aspiring for a personal form, then you will be on the bhakti side. So if the Ashtanga Yogi's goal is Paramatma, who has a form, then they will fall on the bhakti side. Okay, so let's not get into that now. But in this Sankhya philosophy is jnana. So in jnana, what they do is they try to understand what is this world made of. And you will see in this world there is Prakriti. From Prakriti, there are 24 elements. We already covered in the second canto. So there is Mahat Tattva, then there is false ego in goodness, passion and ignorance. From false ego and goodness, you get mind, the controlling deities. False ego and passion, you get the 10 senses, 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses and intelligence. From ahankara and goodness, you get mind and the demigods, the controlling deities. And then ahankara in ignorance gives the 5 gross elements and the 5 sense objects. Like this, totally there are 24 elements. So whatever you see in this world, they will see it's just like, you study your body. if you study biochemistry, you know what you do, or microbiology. Let's say biochemistry. What you do is you break down everything, like the food. You say protein, you break it down into what are the smallest parts that is made up of. Just like you look at a building, it is made of bricks or here wood. But there is, like smallest particles that are put together to give form to the big picture that you're seeing. So what Sankhya philosophy does is, everything that you're seeing, you break it down to the smallest particle, and then you find out what is this ultimately composed of. So that is why they study the nature of these elements, and they study these 24 elements in quite depth, in detail, much more detail than what the devotees study, but it can also be useful for devotees. What is the purpose of this knowledge though? Why are they studying? The reason is, by studying all this, they will understand what is our problem in this world. Our problem is our attachment, isn't it? Lust, attachment. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangas teshu upajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibramaha. Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. That means by contemplating about the objects of senses, lust develops. From lust, you get attachment, and if that lust is not satisfied, then you get you become angry, right? Anger develops. And from anger, there is bewilderment, sammoha, there's delusion. Then there is loss of memory. And ultimately, you just fall down into the material pool. This is the sequence. So, where is it starting? It is starting with attachment to the sense objects. The mind contemplating on the sense objects. Or first, the senses come in touch with the sense objects, and then the mind starts thinking, contemplating about that. And that attachment gets stronger and stronger. And that leads to your falling into the material pool. You stay on the material platform. You are caught in the clutches of this material energy. So what the Sankhya philosophers do is they study the nature. So for example, if you are attracted to a beautiful woman, let's say, what the Sankhya philosophers would do is they will study the body of this woman. What is it made up of? Oh, it is just, skin, bones, blood, flesh, so on and so forth. And you break it down further. It is nothing but earth, water, fire, air, ether. Then what type of attraction they will have for that? So this knowledge is actually helping them to get detachment. So the goal is by this knowledge, and also further, that's why I said, I gave you the difference between the Nirishwara Sankhya and the actual Sankhya. In actual Sankhya, it is not simply about knowledge and detachment, but there's also bhakti. Because 24 elements are coming from Prakriti, there are totally 28. The 25th element, all this is there in the 26th chapter. When we come, we can read that. But the 25th element is Kala, time. And then the 26th is the living entity, Jivatma, who is wanting to be the enjoyer. Then the 27th element is Prakriti. Or Prakriti means Pradhana, right? Pradhana is the total. Or is it, actually Prakriti, not Pradhana, it says Prakriti. And finally, the last one is Purusha. Purusha means there's Paramatma also. In Sankhya philosophy, there is Paramatma also. So you do bhakti. So they meditate on the form of Paramatma. This is an anga of bhakti, meditation on the form of the Lord, smaranam. Right? So in Sankhya philosophy, it's not simply about detachment, but also there is meditation on Paramatma. And of course, ultimately, the goal is they want to go, into Brahman. So the purpose of this knowledge is to get detachment. And we read that Krishna was situated in knowledge and detachment while he was living in Dwaraka. Okay? So yesterday's verse said that Krishna was living in detachment, knowledge and detachment, as per Sankhya philosophy. Now, in today's verse, what we are seeing, that while living there in Dwaraka, Krishna was there in his transcendental body. And what is his body? His body is the home for the goddess of fortune. His body is the home, is the residence of the goddess of fortune. Who is goddess of fortune? She is the source of all opulences, all enjoyment, right? Everything you can think of, all opulence, Aishwarya, that is there. And she is residing there, right? His body is the residence of the goddess of fortune. And with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words and his flawless character. So these are the attributes of the personality of Godhead. He has a beautiful smiling face, sweet words. He's so gentle, and his wonderful flawless character. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that in the previous verse, we saw that the Lord is detached from all kinds of matter. And in the present verse, we are seeing that he is the residence of the goddess of fortune. Don't they look contradictory? One who is detached, and on the other hand, he is living in all opulence. What is this? How can you be detached and living in all opulence and also with great pleasure. See, he's smiling and he's enjoying apparently. How can he be detached and also be enjoying at the same time? But Srila Prabhupada is saying these two things are not at all contradictory. They are not contradictory. How? His detachment is from the variegatedness of the inferior nature. So here you have to understand the Lord's energy. There is the external energy and his internal energy. The external energy is called Mahamaya and the internal energy is called Yogamaya. So his detachment is from the variety of this external energy, varieties that we find in this world, the varieties that a conditioned soul is attracted to in this world. Things that we are attracted to, the conditioned souls are attracted to in this world. Is Krishna attracted by those things? No, he's completely detached. They cannot attract him in the least. He doesn't even touch the external energy. Even when he performs his pastimes here, he's performing his pastimes in his internal energy. He doesn't touch the external energy. So that is why his detachment is from the variegatedness of the inferior energy. But does that mean detachment means he's not enjoying anything? He's detached? No. He is in eternal blissful enjoyment of the spiritual nature. He's eternally enjoying, but that enjoyment is of a different nature completely. It's different. It is spiritual nature. One who has a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand the distinction between the external and internal potencies. This is where the problem comes. See, what is Mayavad philosophy? Mayavad philosophy says, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. But then what is their understanding of Brahma? Their understanding of Brahma means no attributes, no form, no variety. Why? Because my experience in this world is, as soon as there is a form, then there is attachment. And that attachment brings bondage, and bondage means suffering. So, negate form altogether. No form. Form is giving me suffering. No form means no suffering. Therefore, material world means it is filled with forms we are all seeing. Spiritual world must be the opposite, which has no forms. We read also, further also we will read in this canto, and this is mentioned we were reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita a few days ago. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so now after being transformed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a teacher of the Mayavad philosophy. And he was completely, utterly defeated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that philosophy. Completely. And then after that, he got so much mercy from the Lord. He became a pure devotee. Now his constant meditation was simply he's chanting the names of the son of Sachi Mata. That's all. And simply glorifying the qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is his only meditation, day and night. He became such a pure devotee, that he didn't even like to hear the name Mukti. Mukti means liberation. That which is the goal of the Mayavad philosophers. And, he spent all his life studying that philosophy, teaching that philosophy. Even to sannyasis he's teaching. And now he couldn't even bear to hear the word Mukti. He said, as soon as I hear that word Mukti, I experience fear and hatred in my heart. I don't even want to hear. So there was one verse in Bhagavatam which says, Tatte nukampa susamikshamana bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapur bhirvidadhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhag. Mukti pada comes. Mukti pada means what? That means he's thinking Sayujya Mukti. So he thought, this is so bad. He changed the verse of Bhagavatam. From Mukti Pada, he made it Bhakti Pada. And then he recited that verse in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, what is this? Why did you change the name, the word from Mukti Pada to Bhakti? Mukti to Bhakti, why you changed? This is Bhagavatam. What is your intention? Then there he explains all this. And the reason why he does not like mukti, after saying many things, one thing he says is, devotees, they don't want to accept even, any type of mukti. There is salopya, sarupya, sashti, samipya. No, they won't take. And what to speak of sayujya? Sayujya means going and merging into the form. There it is said in sayujya mukti also there is two types. One is Brahma Sayujya, the other is Ishvara Sayujya. Brahma Sayujya means going and merging into the effulgence. And Ishvara Sayujya means going and merging into the form of the Lord. And he says this merging in the form of the Lord is the most abominable thing. Compared to Brahma Sayujya, this is even more degraded. Why? Because in Ishvara Sayujya, you have an experience of the form of the Lord. You have seen the sweetness of the Lord's form. And even after experiencing that, you want to go and merge into that, and you want to give up your identity instead of relishing that sweet form, rendering service to that sweet form. You want to lose your identity and go and merge into that. At least in Brahma Sayujya, they don't have an experience of the form of the Lord. The only thing they have experienced is the effulgence, and that is certainly superior to the pleasures of this world. So that is higher. They go and merge into that. But Ishvara Sayujya, it is coming down. After seeing the beautiful form, then you go and merge into that. This is completely unacceptable to the devotees, right? They don't like it. So this, what we are reading here is, the Mayavadis, what is their philosophy? That because in this world, form is giving me pain, suffering, because form is the cause for attachment. You take any form, right? Whether it is an eatable or anything, right? That form is the cause for my attachment, and that attachment is the cause of bondage, and that bondage is the cause of my suffering, taking birth again and again in this world. So negate this form. Then how will you explain the Lord's beautiful form? The Shastras are explaining. So then they say that form is also material. The Lord's form is also material. Because when you have a form, there will be suffering. That is material world. But is that a fact? That is not a fact. There is a form in the spiritual world, but that form is not a form which binds you to this material world. That is a form which liberates you from this world. That is not a form which gives you pain and suffering, but that form gives you unlimited bliss. But they are very unfortunate. They are not able to accept that. So when we talk of detachment is in relation to this world. But detachment from here is only complete when there is attachment to the real form. When you are Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Isn't it? So if you are not getting a higher taste, param drishtva nivartate, then your detachment in this world is only a temporary. It's not real. Because as soon as you get an opportunity, the senses are so strong, they drag the intelligence, the mind and intelligence down again, once again. The mind is dragged to the sense objects. What is that word? Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. Yatanto hyapi kaunteya. He is endeavoring very hard. Purushasya vipaschitaha. He is a man of discrimination. Like this Sankhya philosopher, let's say, discrimination is discriminating. I'm not this body, and all these bodies are actually only elements. Yes, he's discriminating, but still the senses are so strong, right? Indriyani pramathini. They can make you commit the mistake. Haranti prasabam manaha. They steal away the mind. So this is the position. But if that mind is getting a higher attachment, a pleasure which is far superior to the pleasure that you're getting from this world, then where is the scope of the senses getting pulled to the things of this world? You're already completely satisfied. The mind is completely satisfied in higher pleasure. This pleasure will seem insignificant. You won't go for it. The other day, I visited one devotee family. They are relatively new devotees, and the they were saying, the wife was saying that earlier, Mataji, we used to have fun traveling to different places all the time. We would just keep traveling here and there in the US. But now we don't like to do that, right? They come to the temple regularly, ISKCON Philadelphia. So we don't like to do that now. Now, if we want to go, we just want to go to the temple, right? We just want to go. That's our pleasure, right? And also the food. They have their traditional foods, and that's what they cook. So they use onion, garlic, etc. And unless you put those things, those traditional foods, they don't get that flavor. They're still cooking the same, the foods that they ate all their lives from childhood until now. And now, that's why I said they're relatively new devotees. But even in relatively new devotees, just see the power of bhakti. That's what I'm saying. So now I say, so don't you feel the difference that that original taste is not coming? And they say, no, actually we got used to it. We got used to this. Now when we smell that food, it smells pretty. We don't feel any attraction that we are missing out of something. No, we like this now. So yes, when you get a higher taste, because in that cooking there is that bhava, that devotion is there. Another thing, she said that earlier when we would cook, we would taste and see if the salt is good or not. But now they had invited me to take prasadam. I don't go usually, but they said, actually she started chanting 16 rounds so that I can go and take prasad. She was not chanting before, but she started, and I thought, oh my god, this is it won't be correct for me, if somebody. So I thought, this, to inspire, I must go. So anyway, so she said, Mataji, when I cook for the deities or for the Lord, there is this feeling that I'm cooking it for the Lord. So I don't taste or anything. And I've seen when I cook like that for the Lord, everything turns out so good. The taste is nice and everything. You don't have to adjust or worry, because you're cooking it with that feeling. So the thing is, you start tasting the higher, you start experiencing the higher taste in devotional service. So when you get this higher taste, then all the variety of this world, which once upon a time used to be so attractive, it seems very dull, and you don't get attracted to those things anymore. You can try, you won't like it anymore, right? You'll be hankering to come here where all the devotees have gathered. Let's come together and let's discuss Krishna Katha, right? And let's engage together in glorifying the Lord, in serving the Lord, like that. So this higher pleasure, when there is this where is this higher pleasure coming from? This is not coming from Mahamaya. This is from the Lord's internal energy. The Lord's internal energy is called Swarupa Shakti, also called Chit Shakti. Okay, Chit Shakti or Swarupa Shakti. That consists of, again, Haladini, Sandhini, Samvit Shaktis. And then there is external energy. So that's what the Lord is saying here. Srila Prabhupada is saying here, that one who has a poor fund of knowledge, he cannot understand the distinction between external and internal energies, potencies. One who has poor fund of knowledge, he cannot understand. And how do you get this knowledge? This knowledge is not theoretical. It's not that you read books and then you get knowledge. Yes, you may get theoretical knowledge, but that does not mean you will get that conviction. Theoretical knowledge does not give you conviction. Conviction comes from mercy. Conviction comes from mercy. When you, and of course, like now we are in the Damodar month, right? Kartik, remember those two fingers? Last Sunday we heard from Ramcharan Prabhu. The two fingers too short. One finger is our endeavor, and the second finger is Krishna's mercy. So our endeavor is also required. So how we get this conviction? How we get this conviction? First, we need to receive the mercy, and through that mercy, how the mercy is coming, they give us instructions, right? Devotees from the Shastra, certainly, they don't give whimsical instructions, guidance, right? What to do. And then you hear from Shastra, Bhagavad. Shastra means specifically Bhakti Shastra. That means Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, especially. And hear this in the association of devotees. And you get your doubts and questions relieved. When all these doubts are removed, then you'll get that conviction that this is the ultimate thing. This is all I have to do. There's nothing else important in this world other than devotional service. But if we don't get that conviction, we cannot surrender to Krishna. We will surrender to Krishna only when we get this conviction. So, that means someone who has poor fund of knowledge. Knowledge is coming again. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Ahaitukam. That knowledge also comes as a byproduct of devotional service. That is why, what was Srila Prabhupada's method? Not philosophy first. When they would come, he would just engage them in chanting and then go clean pots in the kitchen. Direct service, right? Clean the floor, clean the pots, chant Hare Krishna, feasting, honoring prasadam. This is all service, direct devotional service. And then after kirtan, long time kirtan, then little bit of class, then you understand. And of course, mercy, certainly. Pure devotees, mercy is coming. By his mercy and by being engaged in devotional service, now Jnanam Cha Yad Ahaitukam, knowledge is also coming. You are getting conviction in what you are hearing. And you understand. Whatever you hear, you are able to understand now. Otherwise, those with poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand the distinction between external and internal potencies. It all looks the same. So this internal potency is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as Para Prakriti, in Vishnu Purana as Para Shakti. What is this internal energy? This is the Lord's Swarupa Shakti. So there is, Sandhini, Samvid and Haladini. Sandhini means his existence is because of this Sandhini Shakti. Samvid means his cognizance is because of Samvid Shakti. And Haladini, his pleasure is coming from this Haladini Shakti. So the Lord is always enjoying. Certainly he is enjoying. He is getting pleasure. But his pleasure is coming from his internal energy. His enjoyment, his pastimes, they're all in the internal energy, which is different from the external energy. Okay? So that is why the Lord is detached from the external energy, but that does not mean he's also detached from the internal energy and he has no enjoyment. Yes, we say no to material enjoyment, but the secret is we are enjoying much more than what the material people, or material people means depends on where we are. We can also be material people depending on our consciousness. But those who take pleasure in the material enjoyment, they are not getting as much pleasure. But the pleasure that you get from the internal energy, that's far superior. That's far superior. So we are not deprived of enjoyment. In fact, we are enjoying much, much more in Krishna consciousness. The Lord is the supreme enjoyer, right? And we are all his servants. The Lord is eternally joyful and cognizant in the taste derived from such transcendental bliss. He's tasting, right? He is Rasacharya, right? He is the king, of all rasas. He's tasting all the rasas. He's the expert in tasting all different pleasures in various relationships, but all that is in the internal energy, it is not in the external energy. Negation of the variegatedness of the inferior energy does not necessitate negation of the positive transcendental bliss of the spiritual world. So this is the mistake of the Mayavadi philosophy. Because this material world is full of misery, they negate the variegatedness of material world, but they think that any variegatedness, any variety is simply going to give me pain. So they just negate even spiritual variety, which is wrong, right? Negation of variegatedness of inferior energy does not necessitate negation of positive transcendental bliss of the spiritual world. So now all the different qualities that we saw of Krishna, his gentleness, his sweet smile, his character, all this is belonging to what? Not the external energy, his internal energy. He is certainly living in detachment in relation to the external energy, but he's enjoying great pleasures that are coming from his internal energy. In fact, his body is the residence of the goddess of fortune, who is also his internal energy, and he's enjoying that. Such manifestations of the internal potency are the reality of which the material world is a shadow. Like in the very first verse of Bhagavatam, we see Dhamna Swena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam, right? That spiritual world of the Lord, his Dhamma, is always free from Kuhakam, means darkness. This illusory world, right? Or this illusory energy, it is free from this illusory energy. And what is the nature of this material world? Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargom Risha. Because of this illusory energy, this material world, which is nothing but the reaction of these three modes, it seems to be factual. This material world appears to be factual, and we make plans to live here happily ever after. Why? Because we think this world is real. How we are getting that impression that this world is real and it is permanent? Because of this illusory energy, Maya. Maya makes us think that this is eternal. I'm going to live here forever. I'm going to enjoy here forever. But this illusory energy is absent in the spiritual world. Okay, so the spiritual world is the reality. This material world is just a shadow. Another example, the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This material world is compared to a banyan tree which is upside down. Upside down means what? Reflection, right? So you at the banks of a river or a water body, you see if there's a tree, and what do you see? If you see the reflection of the tree, it looks upside down. So upside down means it's a reflection. So this material world is a shadow, whereas the reality is the spiritual potency or his Yogamaya, his Swarupa Shakti, whereas this external energy is a reflection. Also in Brahma Samhita, what is that verse? सृष्टि स्थिति प्रलय साधन शक्ति रेखा छायेव छाया छाया means what? Shadow. छायेव यस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टते सा गोविन्दमादि पुरुषं तमहं भजामि. So this Shakti, Durga Devi, she is the chaya, right? She is the shadow of his internal energy. Like that.
205, 510, 19.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So the material shadow is only a temporary representation from which everyone with proper knowledge must be detached. Not only is the Lord detached, but everyone must be detached from this temporary material world, because it is temporary. We are eternal. The spirit soul has no death. The spirit soul is eternal. But this world is temporary. The relationships here are temporary. We are completely a different subject, different material than this Prakriti. We are different. We cannot fit in here. Don't even try to fit in here. Know that we are different. We have to leave. And with that consciousness, aim for the reality, which is the spiritual world, where the Supreme Lord is performing his pastimes. I will end there. Thank you all so much. There is some issue with Zoom apparently, because of which my video is not turning on. So maybe you can look into that. I don't know. Thank you. Does anyone have any comments, reflections, questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna Mataji, Suman Mataji.
much. I just, could you please, I forgot the meaning of Sandhini, Samvit and Haladini. Could
Yes.
you?
Sandhini is the Shakti, which is the cause for the Lord's existence. So the Lord exists eternally. That eternality is coming from where? From his Shakti called Sandhini. And the Lord is cognizant of everything. He is aware of everyone and everything, past, present, and future. Right? How is he cognizant of everything, both spiritual world, material world, everywhere? Because of his Shakti called Samvit. And Haladini, he is always blissful. Where is his pleasure coming from? How is he enjoying? He is experiencing pleasure because of his Shakti called Haladini.
And
Okay,
because
Mataji?
his Shakti, he is eternally present because of his.
Existence. Samdini is existence, Samvid is knowledge or cognizance, and Haladini is pleasure.
Yeah, and because of his, just that's Samvit, because of his own internal, that Shakti, he is present eternally. That's the meaning of that.
So, okay, one more thing, let me clarify here. Internal and external means what? Internal means it cannot be separated from the Lord. It's just like, I mean, on a gross platform, I'm saying you have a heart in your body, you have a liver, you have kidneys, they're inside your body, right? They're not outside your body, but you have your table, you have your backpack, and you have phone, they're outside your body. So his internal energy is like your internal organs, like it's inside him. You cannot separate it from him. It's part of him. And external, and also you can say like your brain and your intelligence, mind, whatever. So his internal energy is inside of him. So with these shaktis, his very form is because of these shaktis. So he has that beautiful form. How is that beautiful form visible to us? How are we even able to understand? That is because of his Samvit Shakti. His existence, he's eternally existing. That is from his Sandhini Shakti.
Yeah.
It is his internal energy. Because of this energy, just like, okay, I can tell you, okay, because of my, uh, you know, mind, what do you say, intelligence, I'm able to grasp some things, let's say. So can I separate? I mean, this is not the correct example, but I'm just like a layman, I'm telling you. So can you separate my intelligence from my personality? Can you put it out somewhere from on a gross platform? No, right? It's in this body. My subtle body is in my gross body. This, so you cannot separate it from my personality, like that. So his energy, his internal energy is inside of him.
Okay. So this is Sandhini.
His existence is
Sandhini is
because of
external.
Sandhini.
No, so this is the Sandhini Sakti because
Samvid, Sandhini, Samvid and Haladini.
so
Sandhini, Samvit.
he is he is eternally present because of his Sandhini Shakti, right? Or Samvit.
I will tell you in the temple, Mataji. It's okay. Yeah, or you can just go back and hear again the last part.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Does anyone have any other comments or questions?
Lot of things to know, Mataji.
Yeah, the purpose of all this knowing is to surrender. So,
Surrender. That's true.
so with that goal, we will learn a lot of
Yeah.
things. Okay, so looks like
Sarvadharman Parityaja.
yeah. Thank you all so much. Grantaraj, yes, Mata, Golokananda.
Very, very, very nice class and a lot of information, a lot of information from class. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pranav.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna. Sorry for that inconvenience with the Zoom. The only way to fix that would be to, restart the computer, and it wasn't the right time to do that.
I think she
Oh,
did. She did.
It's not on my side, Prabhuji, because I was in a class just before this and the video was fine, so it's not in the computer.
No,
But
sometimes these things happen, there's a small glitch sometimes.
right, yeah, that's what I thought. So Mataji said rejoin again, so I logged out and logged in again, but it didn't happen. So
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, but we
yeah,
heard you. Thank you.
That we
Yeah.
heard you. We got the class. Nice. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you, Madhurika. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय,
Jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय,
Jai.
समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय,
Jai.
वांछा
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपा
पतितानां
वैष्णवेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.